it's getting ready to rain, but it's been a wonderful day today.
That's great. That's great. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for joining. So, Nancy, could you share a little bit about your company and you and how you ended up starting your business and how it's been going?
Okay, sure. I'll be glad to. Again, my name is Nancy Sylvester. I work for the public school district here, Jackson Public Schools. I was with them for 35 years
Oh, wow.
oh yes, long time as a counselor and director of counselors. And while I was working and I was responsible for attendance personnel, I would have so many young ladies who were out of school because they had babies. And what can you do when a child has a baby? And we can't tell them you can't, you have to come to school because they had to provide care for their child. Once I retired, I started a child care center for teenage mothers, middle and high school girls who have babies. So we keep those babies free of charge. As long as those girls are back in school, keeping their grades up, behavior has to be good. They attend after school parenting sessions and they cannot have a repeat pregnancy. And we have them graduate high school. I've had this center open, which is a nonprofit, for the
Oh,
last
wow.
15 years
Oh, wow.
and 100% graduation rate.
Oh, wow. Oh,
So I'm
man.
very pleased with that. But that's
Well,
just a little about me.
just a little. Wow, Nancy.
Mhm.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. How many children are in your program?
Currently, we have 62.
Wow.
Yeah, we're busy. We're full, but we do have 62.
And do you use subsidy dollars to pay for it? Or do you have funders who you've been able to raise from the
Well,
community?
right now, we do not have regular funders. We have in the past, but we search for grants and write grants to support our program. And once our young girls are out of high school, we work toward getting them child care certificates, child care vouchers, so they have subsidy so that they can keep their babies in if they go to college because the grant that we have does not support them after high school. We don't have any grants that actually support them after high school unless they're enrolled in college. So we do maintain some enrollment with those children who started with us when they were in school, and we still work with their babies in an after school program. We work with these children to get them prepared for one of the advanced schools that we have here in the city. And we get them in, and then we pick them up after school and bring them back here and continue to work with them so that we can make sure that they're able to succeed in school.
Wow. The idea of helping adults via serving their children.
Well, I'm familiar with it, and that was not necessarily our intention because we're working with the teen moms, but we've seen such results from other family members, especially when they participate in our parenting sessions that we hold after school. But we've seen such a improvement in those parents because we have generations still living in the same home,
Mhm.
where the mom is still living with her mother, and now she has girls, and those girls have babies, and they're all still living in the same home. But with us taking care of the babies, we've influenced the grandparents to go back to school or to go to get a job. Same thing with the great grandparents to get jobs or either further their education in some way so that the whole family is being able to function and do well.
Wow. Yes, please.
Oh, I would just like to share that I'm a recent cancer survivor.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
And I think that's why everyone's wanting to hear my story about Wonderschool because of the benefits I've had returning to our center and having been out for almost a year because of the treatments and surgeries that I had to have. But I'm back and I'm
Well,
doing very well.
that's great to hear. I'm glad you're
Hmm.
doing well. And
Thank you.
how does it feel to be back?
I've told my doctor that the greatest therapy I could have is to return.
I bet.
As old as I am, I really love working with these babies. I love making a difference with the children, with the young mothers and in their families. It's wonderful for me to be back. I wouldn't want to do anything else.
Glad you're back, Nancy. How did you find out about Wonder School? And what parts of Wonder School have you been using for
Well,
your organization?
when When I first found out about Wonderschool was when some information had come from our Mississippi Department of Human Services as well as from the health department. And the day I received the information, I was ready to start doing a little bit more research to find out exactly what would occur with Wonderschool. But we've used the substitute pool. That's the number one thing that we've done is basically dealing with the substitutes. And now that Early Day has been introduced to us, I'm also using Early Day and have been able to hire a wonderful employee from Early Day.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Early Day in the substitute pool? And can you walk us through how many subs have you had and how many people did you speak to when you hired someone with Early Day?
Starting with the subs, I can't tell you how many. So I've had so many. After the pandemic, we were short staffed. And then as soon as we were back and everything was functioning well, I was diagnosed with cancer. And then with that diagnosis and not being here, we still lost staff. So it was very difficult. So with me returning and then, okay, here's Wonderschool. I started where I can't remember the person who contacted me, but I think I was the first one in the state who used the sub. And I was just so excited about it because the first person that came in, she was absolutely wonderful. And I talked with Caitlin and I said, wow, this is great because she already knew what to do. She did need supervision during the day. It was just a matter of introducing her to what we do in that classroom and having one of the assistants to just check in with her. And she did such a good job. So I would sing her praises. And then shortly after that, we started getting some other subs in. And everything's worked out well. Now, I will tell you, I've had subs that I've had to release. Every sub is not going to be the excellent sub that you're looking for. So I have had to release some, but that's very seldom that I've had to do that. Because when they enter our center, because we're dealing with teenage mothers' children who you have to be able to discipline. You have to be a strong disciplinarian and then a person who loves children to be able to work with children who may not have the discipline that you may see in other homes. But I've had some wonderful experience with the subs. So after we had the first sub, I continued to request subs. And we've had days where I've had 2 or 3 subs in. Right now, I have a sub who's been here for 2 months. And the reason she stayed every day for 2 months is because one of our teachers has a baby that was born with a special need, and that child's health has deteriorated. And she's needed to be off with her baby. So I wanted to keep the same sub in my infant class as opposed to bringing different people in to sub. And the substitute from Wonderschool agreed to stay. So every week I create the job. Every week she accepts the job. So she's been here for 2 months and doing an excellent job. So I've been very pleased because otherwise I would have been so stressed because it was very difficult to find people. I don't know why people weren't working after the pandemic, where subs that before I could pull in, I don't know if they were afraid to come into the childcare centers, but we just weren't able to get subs in. I had to have fingerprinting done on board members. I had to pull in family members, my son, my husband, with everyone. We had them all fingerprinted, everything done with suitability, because on a day that we were shorthanded, I would have to say, all hands on deck today. We need help because we do not have the teachers in the classroom. As Wonderschool came around, and I was able to, as long as I do it ahead of time, if I know ahead that at least a day ahead that a teacher's going to be out, can get a sub. The morning of just simply does not work. The morning of, most people will not choose the job. It just stays there. But if I know a day ahead, in most instances, I've been able to find a person. And again, I would say 90% of the subs who come to our center have done very well. Very well. So it's been a blessing for me. because again, it's hard when you've gone through health conditions like I have, and you return to work and you don't have a lot of energy, and
Mhm.
then you're a little bit stressed when everything is not flowing the way it should be. But Wonder School did make a difference for me. And I'm not saying that to satisfy anyone's ears of hearing it. I'm saying it strictly from my experiences. I have been so pleased, so happy. And I tell my teachers, if you have to be out, you have an appointment, your child has an appointment, or you just need a mental health day, all you have to do is tell me in time so I can post a job and we can get a sub in to take your class, which is taking stress off the teachers also. So again, it is wonderful for me. So that's related to Wonder School. And the whole process with being reimbursed after we paid the subs who've come, all of that's worked very well for me. And then I was able to recommend some young ladies that I know who I felt would do well that may not have been employed. And I recommended them to Wonder School, and they've been added to the roster of substitutes. Some of my young parents that I have here have been able to be added to the substitute roster. So that's worked out well. But now with Early Day, when I first saw the advertisement about Early Day, again, I tell people at my age, I forget a lot of things. So I do everything as it comes. The day that Early Day came and we saw the information and we could fill out the survey that they sent to say that you may be interested in it, I did it. And I heard from someone that says, let's get you set up and give you a chance to have a trial to see how it's going to work. And I interviewed the first two people from Early Day, and I was able to hire. Actually, I was hiring both of them, but one person is ill, and because of her illness, she could not come. But I have another one that's here that I hired, has filled the position, and is here today doing a very good job.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. What did you do before the sub pool and recruiting teachers? How did you find people beforehand, and how did you handle substitutes and people feeling like they needed like a day off and things like that?
Very seldom could they have a day off. I would tell them to make sure that you appreciate holidays when we're closed for holidays because it was very difficult to get subs. Now, we are a nonprofit. And again, I retired from the school district. Our board is made up of retired educators, retired teachers. Those board members, again, were fingerprinted because they would come in and they would assist, but most of them are elderly, as I am, and didn't have the physical ability to not do it for a long period of time, especially. But I was bringing people in that I knew who could possibly assist us. But otherwise, I would have people that may have come for an interview at some time. And if they were not working, I'd call. There's sometimes I would make calls. Just, I can't tell you how many people I would call in the course of an evening to try to find someone who could possibly come out and sub. And if I wasn't successful, then I would have to call a board member or a family member who I've had with the suitability done so that they could come out and sub. But it was difficult. I had a couple of people who worked as regular subs before the pandemic. As long as I notified them in time, they could come. But after the pandemic, it was impossible to get anyone out. And it was very stressful. And I don't like combining classes. I like for children to remain with their teachers and in their classroom. And I found myself splitting children up to go in different classrooms in order to get through the day, splitting them up for nap time, just to get through nap time where everyone can get a break. I've had to go in the kitchen and allow the cook to go and take the classroom because I wasn't really physically able to handle the children, but I could basically handle the kitchen. Try anything that you could that would work. That's what we did. So it has made a difference when we know we can call. And I've had some of the same subs here multiple times. And I wish I could tell you how many subs we've had, but I think I started with 40 and I used the 40 slots. And then last year around December, they added a few more. And then during the summer, they added a few more. I used all of them. And when a new process started with the amount that we were reimbursed for the subs, when that changed, I think she put in 200 days for subs. And I believe that was like July. And I looked, yeah, just yesterday, and I'm down to 113. We've used a lot of subs. And I know the subs tell me that they like the fact that I pay them. If they work a week, at the end of that week, I pay them. If they're only here for one day, when they get ready to leave, I pay them. I do not wait until a pay period or when our staff is being paid in order to pay the subs, where they would have to come back or I have to mail the funds to them. The last day that they're here, they receive a check for the hours that they worked. And I hear from them quite frequently that is something that they like about coming here, is the way that they're paid.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Does
Okay.
anyone have any questions? One or two questions for Nancy before we wrap up?
I'd love to ask a quick question, Chris.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, Miss Nancy. Thanks so much for
Hello.
coming on and joining us today. You're super inspirational, and I've loved listening to you talk for the last 20 minutes or so. I've worked on the Early Day product, and I'm wondering, since you're a user of both Early Day and Subpool, are there any other technology tools for teachers that you think we're missing that we could potentially build to help teachers make their jobs easier, or for you to support teachers in making their jobs easier?
You're saying any other technology?
Yeah. So beyond recruiting and finding candidates for hiring teachers or substitutes.
Can't think of anything at this point. Now, when you said technology, I start to think about the technology that we use in a classroom. And I have received some subs who are not as computer literate to be able to do what we need to have done. So one of the assistant directors will have to go in and assist them. But as far as anything in relationship to the processes that are used for us to request substitutes or to keep up with the hours with the substitutes, or even with Early Day. Now, I realize with Early Day that when you get the free jobs, it limits what you're able to do. So you'd have to have the funds to pay the monthly fees to be able to to get information or the more information on the candidates in order to get their phone numbers or what have you. You have to actually pay the monthly fee. And that's one of the things. We're so small and we don't collect fees from our young ladies. And so I can't add fees. So I have to use the freebie.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Is
have
there
to use the freebie.
Yeah, I understand that. Is there any lower price point that you think would be digestible that you would be able to pay for in order to get the contact information and posting more jobs? Or for you right now, is just using the free option the only choice?
The free option would have to be my choice. One, because I've hired the staff person that I was advertising for, and it's a monthly fee. I don't hire by the month. I only hire when there's a need. So if I join for a month, I would have to have it open for a month to be able to get the candidates in. And the first week that I advertised the job, and I was home, we had closed because of the weather. I didn't have the job description and everything that I wanted to go on there when the young lady called me to get it all set up, because I was at home just relaxing in my recliner that day. But I went through and I put some information in. Within a couple of days, as soon as it went live, I started receiving the candidates. And again, the first two I interviewed were the ones that were hired. And so I really wouldn't have wanted to pay for a month. And now I've hired my person and I didn't need the rest of the month. So that's where it wouldn't be feasible for me to have to pay the monthly fee. And if I had it, and I could use the free, and actually I could send out, just probably set up an interview, but I like to talk with people. I like to have just the phone conversation with them before I invite them out for an interview. And that's important to me. And it may not be to everyone, but I would probably go back to Indeed, which is what I've used in the past, because I use the free Indeed and I'm able to see all that information for the candidates. So I would probably go back to Indeed before I pay the monthly fee. Just being honest
Mm.
with you. Mhm.
No, that's really helpful feedback. It sounds like we might need to be creative with some other pricing options for people who aren't hiring for an entire month, and people like you
Yeah.
who are successful in hiring quickly on the platform and getting high quality candidates that they don't
Yes.
need an entire month to use the
Mhm.
platform to have
Right.
success. Thank you
Mhm.
for that feedback.
Okay. You're welcome.
We do need to wrap up. Nancy, thank you so much for the time. You're a
Okay.
huge inspiration. I'm glad you're in good health and you're able
Thank you.
to be back at work. And thank you so
Mhm.
much for what you do for the community. And thank you so much for spending some time with us. It's been an
Okay.
honor.
Same here. Thank you
Alrighty.
all.
Okay, you take it easy.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.